It's an olive branch for sure. And he is trying to create a friendlier environment when he has stacked his administration with China hawks, basically. And of course, or really kind of kicked off the trade war with China during his first administration as well. So this kind of feels like a little bit of an olive branch to say, hey, let's start off on a good term. Will he accept is the $1 million question. The likelihood is a no, but we'll see if that is simply because we know that since those comments were made on and I believe CBS Reports suggested this as well, since that was broken, you did see comments coming out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs over in China saying, we do actually want to negotiate with the United States. We do actually want to talk about trade terms, etc. I think the context is really important here in that Donald Trump had talked to Xi Jinping in his first administration and had brokered a trade deal, one that included agricultural quotas as well on things like soybeans, on things like corn, on things like pork imports, for example, as well, and that kind of thing. Quotas that China did not fulfill in terms of those purchasing agreements. So this is really also, from a domestic perspective, something that Donald Trump has to prove that he can not only broker an agreement, he can see the follow through as well.
And look, it's interesting to draw this this latest development, as reported by CBS, to what we have seen in terms of signals coming out of the new Trump administration as well. You mentioned the appointment of some China hawks as well into the key positions in the administration. Yeah,
this is a really fascinating one as well, because we know we've been covering the Canadian and the Mexican tariff commentary as well that he'd put on Truth Social. None of that, of course, official American policy yet, but very well could be come January 20th. A lot of that is baked into the China story as well, because part of that trade agreement has also meant tougher kind of controls on the Chinese fentanyl story as well. And that is exports that come from China into Mexico and into the United States, feeding the opioid crisis in the United States. So that is another area where some of the China hawks in his administration, I'm specifically thinking of Marco Rubio, who's been very, very vocal on this, is coming to the forefront. He is also another example of things like TikTok and how that's being aggressively handled in the United States, talking about potential delistings of Chinese companies that are on the New York Stock Exchange and are on the NASDAQ that haven't met certain accounting requirements for the exchange, but also haven't been penalized for not meeting those accounting requirements. These are all conversations we had 4 years ago, Stephen and Val, and now that they're coming back again, it's crucial to talk about what China is actually coming back with. And right now, we don't actually know how they're going to respond. And all we really know is they're getting kind of on the defensive in terms of their domestic monetary policy in anticipation that things may get tough for them.
Yeah, what's the latest thinking about the inflationary impact from tariffs? I know that economists have been weighing up the downside hit to growth with the possible cost shocks from tariffs. What's the latest thinking there?
Well, this was a kind of controversial commentary over the weekend. Donald Trump actually speaking to NBC and saying, well, this is going to be something that could increase costs for millions of Americans. And this is the first time he's actually admitted that tariffs could be inflationary. And the reason this is so important as well is that, remember, on the campaign trail, both sides, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, even Joe Biden when he was in the race, were talking about how to decrease costs for millions of Americans. Because right after immigration and the border, the economy was the second biggest voting issue. So for him to actually say, now that I've been elected, maybe the American people do have to feel a little bit of pain, that's a big deal. And he's now basically in consensus, to your point, with what a lot of economists and market participants are saying.